Some are like, man, how did you get a wife like that? Did I tell you God was able? Let me tell you, I'm not just talking, I'm living it right now. Know what I'm saying? So, and what's awesome is it's inside and out, Like that's the best part, seriously. And if you have a chance to get to know her, some of you are like, wow, she doesn't talk like everybody else. She's from Spain, right? I got married in Spain. Seriously, God has been good. Some of you are like, I would sign up for that too, so you should. All right, so today we're going to go ahead and continue our talk on supernatural, all right? And so we've been kind of going through some different things, talking about spiritual warfare, things like that. Now, I hope you've kind of caught on to the theme that too often we think spiritual warfare is going out and chasing the sensational, when I believe wholeheartedly spiritual warfare has way more to do with living an authentic Christian life than actually going out and trying to chase demons or whatever. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying, church? And I hope that you're with me. Now, today's going to be different, though. Today, we're going to be talking about the church in regards to spiritual warfare. Now, listen, today I'm going to be talking about the church as a whole, okay? Do you understand? I'm not talking about individuals. We do a weekly podcast. Every week we do a podcast. This is kind of like, if you're a follower of Christ, this is a great discipleship tool, because what this does, this is not our sermon. These are 3 different talks where we talk about your personal walk with God, how you live it out in your family, and then how you live it out in the world that you're called to be a part of. Now, this one talks about how the church, because how many know that a team is only as great as its individuals? Do you understand? You can't have a great church without great church people. So this podcast, if you've never listened to these before, I'm going to ask you to grab one of these, or you can get them online. You can download it on iTunes. It can come right to your feed. We do it every week. But this one is on how your role of being a church meant. What does it mean to be the church individually? Do you understand? We're not talking about that today. Today we're talking about the group. This you need to get. Some of you remember Pastor Paul Hansen, okay, who interned here. He does about a 20-minute talk with us on the second one of this one, because I wanted him to share with you, because parents, listen to me. Do you understand, if you have children right now, you are raising up the next generation of what the church is going to look like? Okay, I wanted him, because he's been in ministry for 40 years, to share what he has seen over the years. I haven't been in ministry that long. I don't get the privilege of seeing or having that kind of perspective, but he does. So we called him up. He shares his heart on here. So I would encourage everyone to get one of these. We put a lot of work in these, and the only reason we do it is because we want to help you grow. Because we say in this church, we care more about your other 6 days of the week than we care about Sunday. Because to me, if you live it out the other 6 days, that's when change takes place. If you just come to church on Sunday, like I said, I used to come to church hungover, raise my hand, pretend I was okay, and then go back out and do the same thing over again. Church means nothing if it doesn't translate to the other 6 days of the week. Amen? Okay. Some of you don't want to agree with that. I know why. It's okay. Hey, and if you're here and you're at that place, I'm so glad you're here. Do you understand that? Because it took me a while to sit there and hear things over and over again for it eventually to sink in. So you could come hang out as long as you want. I'm just always going to push you to go for more. So today we're going to talk about the church. Now, let me just be real with you. If you're not a church person, right? If you're not really into this church thing, today's message is really not going to be much for you. So if you're worried about coming here and getting yelled at and getting preached at, you are good to go. Do you understand? Like you could just go, because I'm going to yell at the church today, so you're all good. Like if you don't call yourself a church person, we're going after church. And I'll be honest, if you're one of those people who sit back and go, that church is all supposed to be hypocrites, you're going to love today, okay? Because we're going to deal with that. We're going to talk about that, because here's the deal. We're talking about battle, spiritual warfare. Do you know there's a battle going on in the church right now? There's a battle going on, and some of you may not understand what the battle is, but the truth is there's a lot of you that are locked in it, and you don't even understand it's a battle. Now, throughout history, there has been a lot of epic battles, okay? A lot of epic battles, and so I want to share some of those with you. The first one, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. It's true. You ever seen that? Epic battle. You are not my father. Okay, yes, I was. So, second one. Coke and Pepsi. You laugh, but there are households that are divided right now because of this. Because somebody is all Coke, somebody is all Pepsi. Not long ago, we had another epic battle. Edward versus Jacob. All the teenage girls went, oh. Right? Epic battle. And probably the greatest epic battle of all time. Rocky versus Drago. Okay? We have seen epic battles throughout all of history. One of the battles, though, that's going on right now in the churches is this, and this is extremely important, okay? It's this. Are we going to go to church this morning or not? Okay? How many have ever been a part of that battle? Of whether you're going to go to church or not? How many just lie? Just keep them up. No, I'm just kidding. Dude, it happens. If you weren't raised in a church, you don't get this, but I was. Okay? Even though you shared with you a little bit that I didn't come from the greatest past, we still went to church every Sunday, which was kind of messed up because it didn't change anything. But we went to church every Sunday. And let me tell you, it wasn't cool. Because there was 3 kids and mom, dad, and they were never kind of on the same page. So they were getting us up to try and go to church. And if you have kids, how many know what that's like? Trying to get your kids up and go to church, right? It's not fun. Right? Trying to get them dressed, trying to get yourself dressed. Many a times we were driving to church and mom still had the curlers in her hair and was trying to do, you know what I mean, the makeup. We're fighting. Dad's like threatening to kill all of us in the back seat. Okay? I'm just telling you, it happens. Right? And then, see, you guys, if you have kids and they're messed up, it's because of this. And then you get to church, right? You get to the door and there's that lovely greeter. And then, magically, your family transforms. It's like, how you guys doing? Somebody was about to just die, right? There was life being threatened in the back seat, okay? Right? And you get to the church, how you doing? Oh, we are blessed. Really? Because you were just going to kill me, Dad. Say it again, and I'll take you to the bathroom. And how many know, growing up, the bathroom wasn't always to use the restroom. That's where they thought they could beat you and God couldn't see it. I'm convinced, okay? There's a battle. Are you going to get your kids to church or not? Now, here's the problem, though. We have seen the decline of church more and more, okay? Now, let's be honest. Even if you're not a church person, you'll agree with me. For the last 30 years, the moral decline of our country has been moving farther and farther down. Can you agree with that? We are seeing things on the news today. 30 years ago, you never heard of people going inside an elementary school and shooting up kids. Never heard of that, right? Never. 30 years ago, you didn't hear some of the things that we're starting to hear today. Our moral decline as a country keeps going down. And I believe there's a direct correlation with the fact that for the last 30 years, the church in America has been on the decline. The church has been moving further away because the problem is too many people who call themselves Christians don't value church. Okay? Now, let me talk about something for a second. Did you know that today, in this year, 8,000 to 10,000 churches will close their doors this year? 8,000 to 10,000 churches will close their doors this year. You should not be too shocked about that because, to be honest, this church wasn't far from it, right? Am I wrong? It was close. The doors were almost shut. 8,000 to 10,000 churches will close their doors this year. Let's just talk about the state of Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, there's an estimated population of 5,750,000 people. This morning, 4,600,000 people will not be in church. Let's bring it closer to our home. Now, some of you might be like, Pastor, no. I've heard George Barna say that 40% of America go to church. Okay? He did. And then somebody else took his survey and said, let's go find out for real. So what happens is 40% of the population survey goes, do you go to church? And they go, yes, we do. We're Creasters. Christmas and Easter, we're there every time. Okay? That's not what we're talking about, man. We're talking about, do you go? Are you real? Is it something that's a part of your life? Is it just a tradition that you do like your birthday, you know? But 40% of the people who say they go to church, when they took that survey just a little further, they found out of the 40%, 20% are the ones that actually really went. on some kind of consistent basis. And we're not talking week to week because that doesn't happen anymore. We're talking like once or twice a month. Okay? And look, I get that, man, and I'm not here to criticize that. In fact, we put our church online every week. You can't make it to church, you can log on and you can watch church from your home, okay? Some people said, you can't do that, Pastor, people won't come. They're not coming anyway. So I would much rather give them a chance to get connected than to sit back and go, do it my way or you ain't getting it. That might be our problem. We, for too long, have said it's got to be done this way because this is how we've always done it, and if you don't do it our way, we're not going to meet you. Well, we'll get to that in a little later. Settle down. Don't get too crazy. Let's go to Manitowoc. The estimated population, and I could be off. I know there's some of you, you're probably much more better than this than me. But according to what I saw, the estimated population in Manitowoc is 33,542. Based on the statistics we just looked at, 26,743 people did not go to church this morning in our city. I don't care how big your biggest church in this city is, it's still not making a drop in the bucket compared to the need. Now, in order for our church to make a comeback in this nation, people in the church have to see the church as something that is valuable. And too often, look, I hear this all the time, Pastor, I don't need church to worship God. Let me tell you, I absolutely 100% agree with you. I agree. You don't need church to worship God. You can worship God from your home. Some people are like, I can worship God from my lake cottage. I can worship God from my fishing boat. I feel so close to God when I'm out on the lake fishing. I agree. Let me tell you, the best place for me to worship God, all-inclusive resort. Jesus is there. Belinda, I just think we need to go get closer to Jesus. Get online. All-inclusive resort. If you've never been, you don't understand. Jesus is there. You've got no care in the world. They give you everything you want. You just, you know what I mean? That's Jesus right there. That's where I'd love to worship God. Let's just move our church. We talked about it. Calvary Cancun. Who's in? Here's the battle that's being waged right now. We don't exist as a church just to worship God. We exist as a church to worship God and to reach people that are far from Him. That's why we exist. If your only perception of church is to come someplace and worship God, you've got it twisted. Because that's not what He said. Okay? We need both. We don't need just one or the other. We have to be focused on both. We're here to worship God, but we're also here to reach people that are far from Him. We're here to offer hope to the hopeless. What did Jesus say when He came to the earth, church? Listen to me. What did He say? He said, I came up what? To bind up the brokenhearted, to set captives free, to bring hope to people who have no hope. That's the reason we exist. And when we think the only purpose for our church is to come together and worship God, that's when we start getting into problems because we start to become consumers more than contributors. And that's where the church has gotten it twisted. And the problem is we don't see it as valuable. Now, if you came into this room today and it was your first time ever in this place, my hope and my prayer is that when you walked in here, you felt welcomed and you felt wanted. Okay? Because here's the deal. My goal is not to get every person who walks through that door committed to Christ the first time they come. Because here's what I absolutely know. I can preach a motivational message. You can get all funny on the inside. At the end, get weepy and go, yes, yes, me. And then never come back because no one said hi to you, no one smiled at you, no one acted like they cared that you were there. And I got a one-chance shot and you're never coming back. If it's warm, it's welcoming, it's inviting, if the church is truly being the church, which means loving people no matter who they are, no matter where they're coming from, we're going to have more than one shot to help them experience who God is. And be real, church, one prayer does not It's the start of a really good thing. But it's walking it out that brings transformation in people's life. It's walking it out. Because I know a lot of church people, including the guy talking to you right here, that are really messed up. that have to work on their marriage every week because just because I came to Jesus doesn't mean everything's perfect now. Do you understand what I'm saying? I need help, just like there's many of you in here who need help as well. All right? So here, what I want to talk about today is this. Church, we exist to reach, not just to worship. Do we agree on that? Are we okay? Some are like, ooh, I don't know if I want to go with this because I might know where this is going. You are smart people. It's why we did away with a lot of the insider talk at our church. Remember when we first got here, do you remember what announcements were like? Like 10 announcements, right? Pulled the bulletin out, start reading it to everybody. Why did I give you a bulletin if I'm going to read it to you? Here's why, though. I didn't do that just because I'm trying to take away your announcements. Put it in the bulletin, put it on the website. Somebody new comes in here, they're not going to want to know about every program going on in the church. So what? It's inside information. That's like somebody coming to your house and a new person, visitor, come into your house, and you got a couple friends there, and the whole time you just talk to your friends and just let them sit there go, oh, this is awesome. Coming back here again, that's for sure. Feel really welcome. We're going to do everything we can at this church to make people feel welcome, to make them feel like, hey, we're so excited you're here, because I believe that this is a place of hope, and people need to find that hope. Now, let me ask you, everybody in this room, you have something in your life that's valuable? Yeah? Right? If you sit down, you have dinner, right, or you're out at a restaurant, a couple things you got to check, right? You got to make sure, one, got your car keys, right? What's the other thing you got to make sure you got with you? Cell phone, wallet, okay, wallet. How many cell phone, right? See, me, I got a problem because my cell phone has this cool case that's got like my license and if somebody gets this, they win. That's just it, you know? Like, because it's got my license, my credit card, like this is my wallet in my cell phone, okay? Some of you are like, oh, yeah. I was not always a pastor, just warning. Okay, so anyway, because it's valuable to me, right? Our cell phones are valuable. And the other reasons why our cell phones are valuable is you don't know anybody's phone number. Some of you guys, you don't even know your wife's number, right? It's just in your cell phone. That's where it's at, man. That's how you got everything. So let me ask you a question. If somebody walked into your house, took your cell phone, smashed it against the wall, you going to be all right with that? You're like, hey, that's awesome. You know, they just got problems. Maybe they got some emotional issues. I don't know, but it's all good. How about this? Your house. Your house valuable, right? Somebody just comes into your house, grabs a sledgehammer, and just starts taking it apart. You're going to sit back and go, I guess they just have some issues. How about your kids? Somebody comes into your house and just starts slapping your kids around. Oh, they just need to let out their aggression. It's okay. Jesus is working on them. Let me ask you this. Is the church valuable to Jesus, yes or no? Is it? Is it valuable to church? Church, I'm asking just church. Is it valuable to Christ? It is. How do you think he feels when we say things like, because the Bible says the church is his bride, amen? His wife, okay? When we say things like we don't need her and we don't like her, okay? Let me just be real honest with you, because there was somebody dumb enough to do this to me one time. This is my wife. I love her. I came to this church with her. I promise you, when I leave this place, she'll be the only one going with me. Okay? That's how it is. The dumbest thing you will ever do in your life as a church member, me being the pastor, is to come in and start bad-mouthing my wife. It's just dumb. Don't do it, okay? If you're a dude, you might get punched in the throat. Less on the might and more on the probably going to happen. If you're a woman, this really happened. I couldn't believe, youth pastor, right? This woman comes into my office and starts bad-mouthing my wife like I was going to side with her. Even if my wife was wrong, I'm not in agreement. I'm not going home with you, woman. I stopped her and I go, look, I mean this in all the respect in the world. Are you the dumbest person that ever lived? Seriously, do you understand you're talking about the woman that I love, that I've pledged my life to, and you're going to run your mouth about you? She got very offended, and she walked out, and she never talked to me again, and I could care less. Because anybody who thinks they're going to come in my office and run their mouth about my wife has lost their flippin' mind. She's my wife. I'll do anything for her. Same with Christ. It's his bride, and he loves her, and will do anything. In fact, there's a verse in the Bible, let me find it real quick. It's in Acts chapter 20, verses 28. It says this, keep watch over ourselves, just follow on the screen, and all the flock of which the Holy Spirit has made you overseers, be shepherd of the church of God, which he bought with his own blood. Do you understand? The church was so valuable to Christ that he paid his own blood for it. So here's the problem. As a follower of Jesus, all right, all church people, lean in right now. You do not get to tell God, let me just tell you, God, listen, I just want to explain to you the way I see things, and here's probably how it should be done. Okay? We don't get to do that. Do you understand? As a follower of Christ, we are called to come to Christ and say, look, give me your heart for the things that matter to you. Help me to see things the way you see things so I can live my life the way you called me to live it. That's what it means to be a follower of Christ. Not to try and bend God's will to ours, but to submit ours to his. Okay? If you make a commitment, you call yourself a Christian, that is how you are supposed to live. If you're not living right now, there's some adjustments that need to take place. Do you hear what I'm saying, church? So, the problem that we start to run into is this. The church for too long has been existing for itself and missing the mission that we were called to do. I believe yesterday our church did more damage spiritually to the kingdom of darkness than we've done in a long, long time. And it wasn't because we went out and did a Jericho march around the city. Weird. It wasn't because we went out and tried to find the strongholds and pull them all down. Nope. Here's what we did. We showed up. Right? We went to this event yesterday called Touch Twice. 600 people showed up who were in need, and we gave them clothes, we fed them, we provided medical care, but more importantly, we loved them. I had two families I got to walk around with all day. The one said, Pastor, would you make sure you call me? I'm not a church person, but I think you might be all right. I said, well, don't let the verdict be out on that one still. Don't jump the gun just yet. But yeah, I'll call. See, because that's what the church is supposed to be about. We're not just existing just to worship God. We exist to worship God and to reach people that are far from him. And we reach them by our love, not our condemnation. See, that's the problem, is too often we think the way we're going to reach them is behavior modification. He didn't ask you to do that. Do you understand, church? Listen to me. God did not ask you to go out and legislate the world's morality. He didn't ask you to do that. What does he say to do? Live your life in such a way that they will see your good works and they'll glorify my Father in heaven. Live your life in such a way. Be so real about who you say you are. If you say you're a Christian, live it in such a way. Couples, have the best marriages that your friends look at you and go, dude, I don't get it. How do you like going home? You like spending time with your wife. I don't get that. Do you understand the testimony that can be? Church, listen to me. When people start coming here, I promise you, they're not coming because they want to know more about my religion. They're coming because they're hurting and they're looking for hope. They're coming because their marriage is falling apart and they're like, we had a lady yesterday at the end. She said, would you just meet with me? Would you meet? My marriage is falling. I'm not really sure I want your church, but would you help me with my marriage? Yes. Yeah. My 17-year-old son just got this 15-year-old pregnant. Could you meet with him? Yes. Absolutely we will. Yeah, because you know what? Loving somebody right where they're at gives the opportunity for Jesus to meet them where they're at. Instead of saying you got to come up to here to get into here. Do you understand what I'm saying, church? Some of you are liking it, and some of you are like, giving me that look. Some of you are going, what does this have to do with spiritual warfare? Let me tell you. There's this sleeping giant called the church. She's been asleep for way too long. She's been slumbering. She's been passive. But when she wakes up, now I'm prophesying. When she wakes up, when she wipes the crusties from her eyes and starts to move for the things that matter to the heart of God, hell starts getting nervous. When the capital C church stops fighting amongst itself and starts fighting together to bring his kingdom here to this earth, like his prayer says, the kingdom of hell will start getting nervous. Because if they can keep us divided, if they can keep us fighting over what music we're going to listen to or play, or what are we going to do here, or how are we going to do this, if they can keep us in that, it can keep us divided. But once the church comes together, things are going to start to change in this community. I'm not okay with 26,700 people far from Christ. And you shouldn't be either. Some of you are like, it's so good, we're seeing our church grow. That's spit compared to what we need to be doing. I mean, I'm thankful for small beginnings. Do you hear that? But listen to me. We can never get satisfied with, oh, we're doing so much better, because there's so much more to do. And it's going to take every one of us who call on the name of Christ to come together and say, we're going to move for the things that matter to God. That's when we're going to start to see things happen. And this is not a new battle. Do you understand? Jesus fought this even when he was here. Okay? I want you to go with me. Actually, don't turn there. Just follow along, because I don't want to go long. Sorry. Some of you are like, don't say that anymore. Sorry. But I'm serious. I really don't. Mark chapter 3, verse 1. I'm going to put it up on the screen. It says this: another time Jesus went into the synagogue. A man with a shriveled hand was there. Now, I just want to draw your attention to something. The fact that a guy had a shriveled hand, so he was deformed. Now, in those days, a man with a physical problem was often directly related to a spiritual problem. They thought if you had a physical issue, you had a spiritual issue as well. Do you understand? So, what would happen if you came into the church, you had a physical problem, you were looked down upon, and you were judged? I'm telling you, these problems haven't changed much. And I'll be honest, I think the reason we see 26,700 people not coming to church is because they've already been. And they weren't happy with what they saw. Because if I come in with my problems and I'm looked down upon and I'm judged because I don't have it all together, why would I come back? I'd rather go to a bar where everybody's just like, hey, we all got problems. Let's just get drunk and forget about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm being real, though. I'm being real, because here's the deal. That's what the church is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a place that says, you know what? Doesn't matter who you are, what problem you have, these doors are open for anybody. Okay? All right, we'll keep going. Maybe he tried to hide his problem, but this guy was in so much hurt, pain, or confusion that he found an environment that he could walk into because he was looking for hope. Okay? Here's the problem. There's way too many churches that we put on the front that we are pretty, we are perfect, and we have no problems. Okay? We become a social club, not a hospital. We were never called to be a country club. We were never called to be a social club. We were always called to be a hospital. What is it about a hospital? Do you have to be well to come to a hospital? No, you're sick when you go to a hospital. Here's the only problem. Now listen to me, church. Hang with me for a second. Here's the problem, though. When people go to the hospital, they understand they have a problem and they need help. Okay? We don't get the benefit of that sometimes. Which means we've got to be willing to do things maybe a little different than we've done in the past if we're going to reach people that have never come to Christ before, or who have come and were dissatisfied when they came. Means we got to be willing to look at things a little bit different, because our goal is not just to come together and worship God and do everything the way we liked it. Our goal is to worship God, but with a purpose. We're here to reach people that are far. We're here to provide hope to hopeless people, and not everybody can do the things that we've always done. Are we okay? I love you, Darlene. Look, let me just tell you right now, if you came to this place expecting to find a church with perfect people, oops. Starting with the guy on stage, you are so in the wrong place. If you walked in today with doubts, questions, and you don't feel you got it all together, Calvary Church is the place for you. Because it's full of people like that who are on this journey to try and find who God is and who he really wants to be in our lives. And you're not going to freak us out by telling us you're not perfect. If you came up to me and you're like, Pastor, I just got to let you know I'm not perfect. I'm not going to be like, really? Yeah, no. All right, Matthew 3:2 says this. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath day. Now them, let me explain that real quick. Them are the religious people of the time, okay? They're looking to see if he'll heal. Now, Do you know there was a law back then that said you cannot heal somebody on the Sabbath day? How stupid is that, right? Somebody comes into your church, they need hope and they need healing, and they're like, wait a minute, we don't heal on the Sabbath day. Now here's something that you need to understand. The reason they said they didn't heal on the Sabbath day, how many know that was not a law from God? Okay? That was man taking God's law and making a rule on top of the rule, and then making it as important as God's rule. Do you hear what I'm saying? He took God's rule, which said, keep the Sabbath day holy, okay? Honor it. And they said, we're going to go so far, we're not going to heal, we're not doing this, we're not doing this, we're not doing this. And if anybody breaks it, it's as if they've broken God's law. And Jesus steps into the scene and goes, wait a minute, that's not my law. That's your law. That's a man law. See, look, they were concerned more about their heritage than offering hope to a man who was hopeless. Church, when we care more about our past than offering hope to people that are hurting, we've got a real big problem. And that's the reason why 26,700 people, I believe, don't go to church in this town anymore. Because we've been so focused about how we've always done things that we're not willing to do different things to offer hope to hopeless people. Okay? Listen, if I'm going to be your pastor for a long time, I promise you in a year from now, this is going to look all different. Okay? I will always lift up the name of Christ. I will never compromise that. But you may walk in one day and there might be a smoking section out front. Huh? Why would that? Not in the church, but outside of the church. Because I'll just be honest with you. I'd rather them smell like hell than go there. Okay? And if they need a place to smoke before they come into church, we'll put an ashtray out there for them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Some are like, oh, I couldn't imagine that. Here's the truth. All we're saying is, look, you come as you are. It doesn't matter who you are. We don't care if you've got a withered hand, because we've got withered hands too. What we're trying to do is say, the same Jesus that met me is willing to meet you where you're at and bring you to wherever he's trying to get you to. But when we care more about our heritage than we care about offering people hope, we got a problem. And we've got to address that. And that's the problem, is we've been battling this in the church. This is the warfare that's taking place. We want to hold on to the way things have always been done, and we're not willing to let go because we're here to reach, not just to worship. Do you hear me, church? Are we on the same page? Please. Some of you are like, he should have told me this before we hired him. You're stuck with me now. They had their idea of how it should be done, and if anybody did it different, there was a problem. They would rather keep their comfort than Christ, and they would rather watch a man walk out the door who had no hope than mess up their man-made traditions. Verse 3, Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, stand up in front of everyone. Now, I'm sure the guy, honest, all right, here we go. Forgive me. You ever have an oh crap moment? You ever? Something happened, you're like, oh crap. Shriveled hand guy, right? Coming in. Doesn't want anybody, you know when you're messed up, you don't really want to stand up in front of everybody. Hi, I'm shriveled hand guy. Me, yeah. Jesus goes, hey, you with the shriveled hand, stand up, come here. I'm sure this guy's having an oh crap moment right now. Because probably what he thinks, he's about to be exposed and he's about to be expelled. Because too often, we don't want people messed up because it hurts our image. And you've heard this. Look, this isn't new. I've heard stories of people in churches that once they got divorced, pastor calls them in and says, you can't come here anymore. Can't be here anymore. That's messed up in so many ways. As a youth pastor, stories and experiences of teenage girls, high school, junior high, get pregnant. Moms of their friend, of their daughters, of the girl who the daughter's friends got pregnant, right? Moms come into the pastor and say, I don't want you letting that kid go to youth group anymore because they're going to hang around my daughter. Mom, listen to me. It's not contagious. Did you know that? Nothing's going to jump onto her and, yeah, but what if she associates? What if she thinks that way? They ostracize this girl, and then they want you to do the same. Church, here's the deal. We will not do that. If I have to start a nursery for youth group, for teen moms that are coming here, we'll do it. Because listen to me, Spiritual Warfare 101, listen to me. When that girl finds out at 16 because she made a mistake, and here's the problem with the church. We want to tell people about their mistakes. They get that they messed up. Do you understand? Helen Keller sees everybody. You get it. You don't need someone there beating you up, telling you how bad you messed up. You need correction and you need compassion. That's what the church is supposed to be. Look, you might have messed up. You might not be okay right now, but it's not okay to stay not okay. We're going to help you and we're going to love you through this thing. Okay? See, but then what happens? Let me tell you what happens. She's 16. She finds out the church wants nothing to do with her. So now she's 18. She gets to choose whether she goes to church or not. You think she's going to church? Not a chance. And we sit back and go, well, the world's just falling apart. No, man. We keep dropping that ball. Instead of meeting people with love and compassion, we have this mindset that somehow we get guilt by association. That's stupid. Listen to me. You want to know the truth? Listen. Do you know what they said about Jesus? What the people, church people, said about Jesus? You want to know what his reputation was in the time that he existed? You want to know? Some of you aren't going to like it. They called him a drunkard. Why? Because he was at parties that probably church people didn't go to. And he probably drank. Deal with it. And it was fermented. Because you can't get drunk on just grape juice. That's weird. They called him a drunkard. They called him a glutton. And they called him a friend of sinners. That was his reputation in the world when he existed. He was called a drunkard. He was called a glutton. And he was called a friend of sinners. Jesus is not scared of guilt by association because here's what he knows, here's what I know. The only way I got from here to here wasn't because Jesus threw me a life preserver. It's because he jumped in the pit, he wrapped his arms around me, even when I was fighting him to get off of me, and he picked me up out of the mess I couldn't get out of myself. That's why I'm at where I'm at today, because he was willing to jump in the pit with me. Church, hear me. 35 people from yesterday have requested follow-up. Our church said, this blew my mind. For the time Touch Twice has existed, no church has wanted to follow up. Are you kidding me? That's like eating the cake without the icing. That's dumb. The follow-up is the purpose of why we do what we do. 35 people have requested follow-up. Let me be honest with you. If 35 people from there who requested follow-up show up, your church is not going to look the same. You ready for that? You ready? You ready? I had someone come up to me and say, yeah, they were just telling me their story of one of their clients. Yep, she works at Gold Diggers. He wants to be an adult film star. I said, welcome to what happens when we finally get outside the church. It's real. People live that way. People are there. Are we going to love them and let them come so they can find that there's a Jesus who loves them and they don't have to live that way anymore if they don't want to? And are we going to be the church that loves them enough that says, even if you come in and you don't quit your job right away because you got to find another one, you're still welcome here? All right? I'm hoping. And when somebody comes up to me and goes, Pastor, I don't know about the way that person looks, I'm going to remind you, you said yes. And if you don't say yes, I'm just going to inform you, there are great churches in this area that love church people. You have my blessing because I don't want to offend you and I don't want to upset you. I don't want to distance you from God. But I'm here. I believe I'm called with a mandate to reach those people that are far from him. And if that's going to happen, we got to do things just a little different. So Jesus said to the shriveled hand man, stand up. You ever felt labeled before? Yep. I know we all have. 3:4 says this. Jesus asked them, talking to the church people again, which is lawful on Sabbath to do, good or to do evil, to save life or to kill? But they remained silent. Now look, watch. He looked around at them, anger and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts. Some of you got a messed up conception of who Christ is. You think he's a pretty white dude with long flowing hair that pets sheep and looks like a weenie. He was very nice. He was very calm. He was very friendly. Read this. But they remained silent. He looked around at them in anger and deeply distressed. Jesus didn't get mad at sinners. He got mad at church people who did not fulfill the call that God put on them. He wasn't mad at the sinners of those days. He was mad at the church people who should have known better. That's where his frustration was at. Do you hear me, church? He got mad because he says, what should I do? Should I heal this guy? And they just sat there going, yeah, go for it. Because if you do, we're going to get you. And I think in frustration, he goes, look, it goes anger and deeply distressed in their stubborn hearts. He said to the man, stretch out your hand. He stretched out his hand. He was completely restored. Church, at that time, they should have thrown a party. You understand? There should have been celebration. And the next verse says, they went out and they started plotting how they could kill him. When somebody comes here who doesn't know God and just is willing to come and be a part of what we're doing here, we should throw a party. We should be excited about that because we're reaching the people that nobody else is. You should get excited that your church is doing that. You understand what I'm saying? You should be excited that that your church is a place where people feel comfortable, no matter who they are, where they come from, that they can at least come and check it out. We should get excited about that. I'm excited. Look, I love this church. You know what I love? I look around, none of us look alike. When I first got here, a lot of y'all looked alike. You know the sign of a healthy church? When there's a bunch of different people sitting in the room that don't look like each other, but are coming together for one mission. That's a great church. Because you ain't got to be something. We're not a cool church, okay? We're not a hippie relevant, like, oh yeah, everything's... No, we're not there. And we're not a blessed assurance church either. What I mean, just sitting back on our blessed assurance going, oh, we love Jesus. We're a church that's changing. The demographic of what we look like looks different now, and I'm thankful for that. And I believe it's going to continue to change. That's my prayer. That's my hope. So there's 3 things we're going to choose to do to make this battle happen. Here's my strategy to win this battle. Number 1, we're going to do whatever it takes to reach people that are de-churched and unchurched. Whatever. Anything short of sin. Deal? Can we make that deal? I won't sin to reach people. But anything short of it, I'll do. We'll do whatever it takes to reach people. Look, I'll be honest. I love food. I love food. Food's great. But there's one food, and I can eat just about anything, but there's one thing I hate. Liver and onions. See, some of you right there just started salivating. That's disgusting. Nasty. Tastes like dirt. Grindy. Nasty. Some of you are like, I love that food. Good. Shh, listen. But if you asked me over for dinner, and you made liver and onions, and you made me a steak, we could still have dinner together. Because your liver and onions doesn't gross me out so much that I can't enjoy a meal with you. Church, some of you have preferences of things you like and things you don't like. If we're going to reach people that are far from Christ, we have to be willing to look at the way we do things and say, look, you might like liver and onions, I might like steak, but our purpose is to reach them. The meal we prepare is not always for us. It's for those who are coming in. I do podcasts to pour into you. We'll do small groups to pour into you. But I do Sundays to reach people that are far from Christ. To create a place where people can come in and say, not really sure I'm a church person, but that might be all right. All right? Now, promise you, 2 promises as your pastor. I will always preach the word and I'll never water it down. I'll call sin, sin. I just couldn't. I'm just telling you. Second thing, I will never be a people pleaser. My goal will always be to make Jesus smile. Some of you love that. Some of you should be scared of that. Because that's what this means. You come to me like, Pastor, I don't like that. You shouldn't say this. You shouldn't do that. It's probably not going to change right away. I will have accountability in my life. I will put people in my life who will call me on my stuff, starting with the lady that sits in that row. And she can get on me, trust me. Okay? But I will not please everybody. I will probably offend some of you. Not on purpose. See, when you start doing different things to reach people that are far from Christ, church people sometimes have a hard time because they love their heritage a lot. Second thing is this. We will work at a church to turn consumers into contributors. We're not here just to consume. We're here to contribute. Most of you in this room right now are actually serving somewhere in our community or in our church. That's awesome. That is awesome. The crossing, I go in there all the time. 1 or 2 people from our church are in there. Yesterday, we're a smaller church. We probably had as many people serving yesterday as any other of the big churches that were represented. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. Let me tell you this, church. Our giving has increased 50% from last year. We're 50% better than we were last year. And that's when you didn't have a pastor and you were paying some guy just $300 a week. That's even with my salary. 50% increase. Thank you for being a contributor, because you know what that allows us to do? Reach more people. It allows us to go to Nicole's house when she doesn't know how she's going to get moved, rent a U-Haul, take all her stuff, and move her to her new house and ask for nothing in return, and we pay for the U-Haul. That's what you're allowing us to do. You're allowing us to make an impact in people's lives that we haven't been able to do before. Thank you. Last thing we're going to do, we are going to celebrate life change. When we party, we're going to party because people's lives are being transformed. When people give their heart to Christ, we're going to go nuts for that. Right? When people trade their old life for a new one, we're going to go crazy for that. When people choose sobriety, we're going to celebrate that. Okay? When couples in our church go from having horrible marriages to amazing marriages, we're going to celebrate that. Because that's what it really looks like to live the other 6 days. When Christians go from knowing about God to knowing God, we're going to go crazy for those kind of things. I'll end with this illustration. I went to lunch with a guy. I'm not going to share his name because I didn't ask his permission to tell the story, but I went to lunch with a guy. He's been coming to our church since May. Every time I hang out with somebody just kind of new from the church, I always ask a question: how are we doing? Tell me. What do you think? Give me your feedback. Here's what he said to me: Pastor, I have never been a church person. And he's not young. Like, he's not a young, cool, he is cool. He's not what you would think, like me. Gosh, I need to stop digging. This is what I'm trying to say. Shut up. This is what I'm trying to say. I'm so offended you said, I know. Here's what I'm trying to say, man. Here's what I'm trying to say. He's not attracted to this church just because I'm a younger pastor. Okay? He said to me, Pastor, I've never been a church person, but I like our church. It got me. I love that. You know what got him? The second time he came back, somebody remembered his name. Asked him how his week went. Cared that he was back. The love of Jesus changes people's lives. So this is my question. How many people in this room would say, I will join with you to create a church to take that 26,700 and bring that number down by creating a place where anybody who walks in those doors will feel welcome and accepted, no matter who they are, no matter what they do, no matter what they've done or where they're coming from? How many would say, I'd be on that? Stand up then. Worship team, get up here. Let's real quick. Hey, and if you need to take off, feel free. I know I've gone long. I love you, Belinda. But here's the deal. I want to end it on the right note. We're going to sing that song, God is Able, again. Okay? We're going to sing that song, God is Able. And as we sing it, that is going to be how we declare it. We are willing to do what it takes to see this thing change. All right? We're going to sing it together as a church as our proclamation, not to me, forget me, but to God, saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes, willing to do whatever to see these things change. Amen?